Welcome to the Life as an Observer podcast. My name is Ryan Bean. I am your host in self-observation. This podcast is an exploration of physical and non-physical self through discussion around yoga, meditation, self-improvement, self-realization, and practices that elevate the mind-body-soul connection. Let's start observing. This episode of Life as an Observer is made possible by patron support. If you'd like to support this program, you can visit patron.podbean.com/lifeasanobserver to learn more. Welcome to another Monday Mindful Moment. C.S. Lewis said that failures in life are signposts on the road to achievement. Experience is the most brutal of teachers, but that's how we learn. Today I want to talk a little bit about failing. Failure being a part of success, where we learn about ourselves in ways that don't always work, and where failure becomes more intelligence and gains more experience and understands the gaps in our skill set, where failure is where we move closer to success. I hear it a lot especially in yoga practices, where I'll never get that, I just keep falling, or that thing that you're trying to do, that's just not for me. I'm failing at that too much, and we start to believe that. We don't believe the idea, or we don't step into the sensation of what it would feel like to succeed. What we do is we continue to move into what we already know, which is our lack of, or we're failing, and we tend to use that as our narrative. I'm not strong enough because last time I fell, or I'm not smart enough because I was told that at one point. So we move into these things that are failures. And I want to talk a little bit about the failures that have happened within our society, and kind of give you a little bit of insight. This will be a short podcast today, but one that can really inspire you to keep trying. So, Steven Spielberg, he was rejected 3 times to get into USC, into California, and he got rejected 3 times before he decided to not do that, before he decided he was going to just make films. Well, I think he became quite successful at that. Tim Ferriss, before the 4-Hour Work Week was published, he was rejected 25 times by publishers, that the book was not going to be a successful book, and they didn't want it, before it actually became a bestseller and a book a lot of us know. Richard Branson, he launched companies, 400 different things that he launched before he actually launched Virgin Galactic, which we know as a quite the endeavor. But 400 different other things he launched. Some of them failed. Some of them were small successes. Some of them were big successes. But 400 different launches before that. Pandora, 300 times they approached investors before they received funding. Well, that's just nuts. This 300 times that they said, "Nuh-uh, we got something here, and we're going to keep trying." And the one that I use quite often, and it comes up and just in conversation, but is about Thomas Edison. Now, I know a little bit about him and some of his inventions, but one of them that the world has changed from is the light bulb. It is something that everyone pretty much knows about or has used in some point. The light bulb had, and there's some discrepancies here, but I like to say that it's 6,000. Some people say it was upwards of 10,000 different failures. And I think where that misinterpretation is he may have failed at a lot of different things within the light bulb, but 6,000 different filaments were used. Things even down to beard hair being used and not working as a filament before he found success in making the light bulb. So what does all this mean? Another one, James Dyson, if you're familiar with the Dyson vacuum, 5,126 times before he found a usable or a good prototype, a prototype that did not fail. So, when Edison was told that I was asked about his failures, he said that he had not failed. I just found 6,000 ways that didn't work. And I really like that idea of us saying, it's easy to do the hard work and then just be like, this is not going to work and walk away. Or we can say, hey, I experienced these things that didn't work, and that is a success all on its own. That's a success all on its own just because I learned what didn't work. Now, take a moment here to think about that. What have you been trying to make happen in your life? It doesn't need to be an invention. It doesn't need to be a book that being published. It doesn't need to be any of that. But what it can be is maybe it's you trying to manifest abundance in your life. Or maybe you're trying to find the perfect partner. You're trying to find love. And when we say, I'm not good at relationships, I'm really a failure at them, that is embedded in our mind that we are failing at that thing, that we're not successful. Instead of saying something like Edison did, where he says, I haven't failed yet. I just found a lot of ways that didn't work. So maybe as it relates to our relationships, we say things like, I haven't failed at relationships. I've just learned what I don't want in one. And so we're moving in that direction. Or we say things like, our abundance, I'm on my way to making my first million. Not, I hope one day I can. Think of the statement that's empowering to you. So I want to see if I can just give you 4 different things that you can apply to the things that you may be saying that you're failing at. And apply them in a way that empowers you and inspires you. So the first thing is learning to fail. You need to learn to fail. You have to say, and take it with grace. Try different things. Try bad ideas. Try good ideas. It doesn't matter. The first step in becoming good at succeeding is to learn to fail. You have to learn to accept it and learn to come into a place of contentment where you take good ideas and bad ideas and apply them. See what happens. Put yourself out there and maybe not accomplish the goal. I look at this a lot with climbing. I do a lot of rock climbing, and I teach yoga at a rock climbing gym. And so you see people all the time who are wanting to climb, and they want to send it. They want to get all the way to the top, and they want to show that they did it because it's the ego that's showing that. The ego says, I must reach the top. The ego says, I have to show the person that's down below that I can do this. And if I don't do it, then I am failing. However, the climbing wall is pretty brutal. There are things that you may not be able to accomplish. So you will have to look for beta, is what it's called, looking for the solution to the puzzle. Now, there you may be able to flash a particular problem on the wall as your skill set increases, but you may have to do the particular route numerous times, learning different ways to move your feet and hands in synchronicity with one another, and you will have to fail, you will have to fall, and you will have to not succeed so that you can eventually find success. Learn to fail is the first rule in learning to succeed. Number 2. So now we take these failures, the times that you've fallen off the wall, or if you've fallen off of your mission to acquire abundance or love or relationships or whatever that is for you. And then you need to be curious. So that's the second rule, is take what you've learned and become curious. Understand what worked and then what didn't work, but be really curious about it. Almost digging deeper into why didn't that work? We can apply the analogy of climbing if we wanted to and say, maybe if I had my hands crossed or if I moved my foot like this another time. But maybe we do apply it to, maybe you're having a hard time keeping and enjoying a job. So either you quit or you fail, or you are fired or you leave on purpose, whatever that is, whatever you decide how you've left your last several jobs or the one that you're trying to look for, and be curious about why it's not working. Maybe make some notes to yourself saying, okay, what do I like about this job? What didn't I like about this job? What are the main reasons, without putting a narrative around it? The boss didn't like me or something like that. Those are not really facts. Those are maybe just projections of how you feel because you don't have that job. But maybe being curious about that. You can apply that to a relationship. You can apply that to projects you're working on. Just be curious. Ask the questions that seem silly at the time, but make perfect sense when you look at them later. So number 2, on the road to succeeding, learn from the failures and be curious. The third place, or the third item to becoming successful, is fix the issues that didn't work in your strategy. Seems pretty easy and straightforward, right? So we learn to fail, we get curious and ask questions, and then we fix those issues. Now, for me, fixing the issues comes with meditation for me. So I always tend to go into this area where I go, I don't have the answers. I don't know. But the universe knows and will provide. As long as I'm moving myself into a place of quiet, a place of where I can really just listen and receive, then I usually receive something I like to call inspired action. So taking that moment of quiet and then moving into inspired action. You'll know what to do from there. And it may be another unsuccessful try, but listen, not to the intelligence of your thinking mind. The thinking mind is going to tell you all the things that didn't work again. It's going to say that you're not good at this. It didn't work because you don't have this. The ego will come in. The attachments that you have to succeeding will come in. You have to sort of filter that and say, what is it that I learned after I'm curious here? And how can I fix these issues? And finding an inspired action. You got to remember that sometimes the journey is really the path to success. It's not the actual success itself. It's that journey. What do we learn along the way that will help us? And I know there's all kinds of stories about being, in battles and in wars, about how commanders decided to lead their troops in different ways because they learned from the experience. They didn't just necessarily go, oh, this way will work. They learned from experience. And there's lots of stories, especially in World War II, of different troops in the Pacific Islands learning new ways to accommodate different environments and not even really knowing the enemy or even being able to see the enemy. So really fixing the issues that don't work and revise the strategy, but doing this using inspired action. And the fourth way on your path to success, the simplest, most easy one is, okay, now try it again. As simple as that. Okay, try it again. See, you may find success in one thing one time, but it doesn't mean that you've perfected that process. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up. I'm going to move back to the climbing wall again, where you send the route one time, but then the next time, it's not quite there. You don't have the strength. You don't have the grip strength. There's maybe something different about you. You don't have the energy. Lots of ways that kind of prevent us from getting to the top, where you say, I made it through this one test, something you're inventing or looking into, or a business that worked for a short time. But you need to continually try it again and again and again, and keep moving back to step 4. We have to move between step 4 and 1. Try it again, learn to fail, take action. Try it again, learn to fail, take action. Learn to fail. Maybe be curious in the middle. Fix issues that don't work. Listen to that self, that intelligence that's within your heart, the one that kind of gives you that gut feeling, more than that thinking thought that says, I can fix it just using my smarts, my brain. So I'm going to take these 4 things and I'm just going to apply those to a meditation for you now. So wherever you are, you don't have to close your eyes if you don't want to. You could be operating a car, you could be walking, you could be doing whatever. But I want you to think about something as we wrap up today's episode. Think about something that you're trying to accomplish that you're failing at. This may be a hard pill to swallow, saying, I'm failing at this thing. But remember, we got to learn to fail. So maybe it is a project you're working on, or you're trying to build a business. Or maybe it's just as simple as trying to complete a task. And you're just not getting it done. It just seems like every time you try to get it done, there's something that gets in the way. So whatever that is, I want you to draw that image of that thing in your mind, and I want you to see if you can begin to think about all the bad ideas to getting it accomplished. All the bad ideas. The ones that you're like, these are ridiculous. Why would I even try to do that? You know, if it's a relationship that you're working on, maybe think about all the bad ideas. And some of them might make you laugh. And that's okay to be lighthearted about it, because sometimes we're just too serious. So think about all the bad ideas that are preventing you from getting to that success that you want. You can even write them down, or maybe take a note about what they are. And then maybe start to think about the good ideas. Good ideas, things that you maybe would want to try, or things that maybe you've heard worked. You know, if it's trying to get the job, maybe you're like not on, any job posting boards, but you're like, I've heard they work. So it might be a good idea. So you start to think about those good ideas too. If it's the bad ideas, maybe it's, putting out a social media post, which might be a bad idea to do a social media post about you need to look for work, but it might actually work. So we can go through the good ideas and the bad ideas, and landing upon where we sit with this thing we're trying to get out to the world that we're failing at. And I don't want you to start any narratives about what's going to work and what's not going to work. But what I want you to do is imagine or visualize the result of both the bad idea and the good idea both working. Be curious about where it will lead you to. Maybe the bad idea brings you into the awareness of a different employer. Maybe the good idea helps you learn a skill or a task, helps you understand technology differently. See, we're not always trying to look only at the goal. We need to look at the journey that's along the way, what we can learn, what we can be curious about along the way. So even the bad ideas might have some good results. So we start to visualize this story of both those ideas working. Leading us to a place where we're right in front of that thing we want to succeed at. The job, the relationship, the idea, the publishing of a book, the putting out music, whatever it is that you're bringing. And you're right there, right at the very finish line. Imagine what would that feel like, to be right at the finish line. You're looking at that thing that you want. And then it all crumbles away. Here you are at the finish line. The universe has pushed you right to the edge. And now you're on your own. And you only have to take a few more steps to get to the edge, to get to that success, to get to the finish line. Maybe your heart is beating faster. You're beginning to activate areas of the autonomic nervous system that are telling you, I'm in fear. The reptilian brain is kicking in. I'm in this fight or flight mode now because I don't have the assistance. And thinking of that is also one of those narratives that you need help, or that you need something to accomplish something. And let's see if we can write a new story here, where we take these issues of maybe where we felt reliant upon someone else, or a technology, or money, to be able to accomplish that next step for us. But instead, let's move to step 3, where we fix those issues, where we feel confident, where we feel loved, where we revise our strategy, where we are being carried by the good and the bad ideas, and now we're stepping confidently into either our reward or our failure to not finishing, but nonetheless feeling empowered and strong. And regardless if you finish or go through that finish line, know that step 4 is right there, where you can try again and learn from your failure. So what do? Are you ready to run across the finish line, or would you like to revise your strategy and start again? You make the decision as you cross the line or as you revise. The more you fail, the more experienced you are. The more experienced you are, the smarter and the wiser that you become. The wiser you become, the higher your chances of success are. And in due time, you're going to reach your goal. Fail more often. Be content with the failure. Learn from it. Take action from it. Be curious, fix the issues, and try. Always keep trying. Remembering that many, many successful people in our lifetimes have had so many failures. We need to learn to embrace those so that we can truly be successful. Remembering C.S. Lewis and the quote from the beginning of our podcast today, he said, "Failures repeat failures. They are signposts on the road to achievement. One fails forward towards success." Moving towards our success through failure. Thanks for joining today, friends. See you on the next edition of Life as an Observer.